first speaker is Carolyn Sheridan from the Agricultural Health and Safety Alliance, who happens to be located in Iowa, not in Iowa City, Iowa, where the university is, but in Iowa. And I'm sure she's a Cyclone fan as well as a Hawkeye fan. Anyway, Carolyn, go ahead and take it away.
Well, good morning, everyone. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can make sure all of that's working here. And I'm sure someone will give me the high sign if it's not working. And yes, in Iowa, you must be fans of everyone, and particularly depending on which college you go to. So I would like to thank the High Plains Center for their funding, their support of our Gear Up for Ag Health and Safety program. I am the executive director and founder of Ag Health and Safety Alliance, so we certainly enjoyed coming to Colorado to be able to deliver our Gear Up for Ag Health and Safety program. It was in the middle of winter, and so we got to be part of some cold and snow, which I'm certainly used to, but David Sullivan, who's also joining us as a participant today, is not as excited about that. Jenna Gibbs is also joining us today, and she's also she's our director of operations, and David Sullivan is our director of programs. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about our project that we were fortunate enough to have with the High Plains Center. We were looking to bring our program, which focuses on the next generation of agriculture. So we're really looking at college students that are enrolled in agricultural programs. And then in other places, we also reach the high school students. So we were able to go to Colorado State and Ames Community College, which is two different types of colleges, which is great. That really gives us a good opportunity to be able to see what different types of students are doing that's related to agricultural health and safety. The program is very interactive. The idea is to provide kind of a lecture base, but also really get the students up and moving, get the students to ask questions. And we have a great partnership with 3M, so the students get about $75 worth of personal protective equipment throughout the presentation. The idea is not just to give them things, but to also find out ahead of time through a survey, what are their behaviors in agricultural health and safety already, and then what can we do to educate this particular group of students. So we show the students throughout the presentation what their survey results were, and then provide them with personal protective equipment. We appreciated John, you joined us, and during our presentation there at Colorado State, and you can see down here, Whitney, I know you're on this morning, we had to make sure we included a great picture of you here. So the interactive nature of the presentation, we feel, is really important to help solidify some behavioral changes based not only on facts that we present to them, but also having something in hand during the presentation and then after they leave the presentation. So really, why do we focus so much on personal protective equipment? And it really is part of that hierarchy of controls. And we know that people sometimes just pick it up and use it. There's lots of evidence related to that just in general. You can see behind me my virtual screen here that we've got my tractors and stuff and combine going on here on the farm. And I can say that without a doubt that without education that some types of personal protective equipment during harvest may not be used correctly. Even though we want to make sure we cover things like substitution, engineering controls, which we do during our presentations, we also know that in many instances in agriculture, we really do rely heavily on personal protective equipment. And we know that from our survey of these students in Colorado, a lot of the students are involved with livestock. And so we focused on calving, or focused on livestock handling, particularly in the community college. And this is a good example you can see with the pictures here of when we do need to use personal protective equipment, particularly with birthing of animals. And so we know that we need to provide good education, but also provide them with the tools that they need so that they know about appropriate size, about how to dispose of it, how to care for it, and how to clean and also have it readily available. We are always very interested in our surveys from students, even though it was a small group of students that we saw in both colleges. They're very interactive. We learned a little bit more about how would we engage more students in the future. The one at Colorado State, that program was voluntary. The students could come if they wished. The instructor of that particular program, we talked later after the program, and she said the next time we come that they would most likely have it as part of their curriculum, which we do in some other colleges, which does make sure that we have a larger audience and we're reaching more students. We were able to reach agriculture and veterinary students, and we had a high percentage of females. And we are seeing that really not only across the US, but Canada and other countries that we're in. In fact, 75% of CSU and 77% of Ames College were females. And almost all are involved in the task associated with livestock production. So that's one of the reasons you'll find us talking about what are our next projects and what are some of the things that we're going to do after the programs that we delivered in Colorado. And like other tasks in agriculture, these students also began to work at a very young age, 12 to 14, and also many of them younger than 9. So by the time we see them at our Gear Up for Ag program, they've had a lot of exposures. They've maybe developed some not so good health and safety behaviors related to agriculture. So we're really excited to get to them in this part of their life because we know they can be change agents for other people at home, whether it's their dad, their mom, their grandpa, aunt, or uncle. So some of the findings that we thought, besides these that I just talked to you about, most students in both programs had previously worn all types of respirators, such as filtering face piece, but none had been fit tested. There's been a lot of talk about fit testing, particularly since COVID-19, but also to some new standards with the worker protection standard and the need to understand fit testing. When should farmers and their family members be fit tested? In the past, we have occasionally offered fit testing while we're at our Gear Up for Ag programs, but information like this from our High Plains Center students reminds us that should be something that's part of our program. Maybe it can be something that's offered immediately following the program. Maybe it's something that's offered later in the day or even in the evening to see if we can get students fit tested with the respirators, not only the ones that are providing them, but ones that they're currently using. Because what we also see in all of our programs is that many students are reporting some symptoms. And so we are giving you the statistics we saw from CSU and Ames at 17% and 30% have reported symptoms of shortness of breath, chills, cough, fever after exposure to some dusty environments in agriculture. And of course, all students, 100% said that they really found value in receiving PPE. Well, everybody loves free stuff. We know that already. But we like to also make sure they know that the free stuff that they're getting is valuable to them, and we're teaching them how to use it, how to replace it, where to get more, things such as that. So also, we were interested in some of the findings related to zoonotic diseases, and particularly because some of the students are veterinary students. And so there were 25% of the CSU students and 16% of the Ames College students had previously contracted a zoonotic disease. And there was a smaller portion that didn't know if the disease was zoonotic or not. So we spent some time on that during our program, but also this reminded us of the importance of including this in our presentations and all of our presentations, particularly in the states and the college areas where we know that there's a lot of livestock production. And so training on the use of personal protective equipment, specifically in handling biological materials, is important. So we appreciated the opportunity to find out what's happening in the High Plains region with students, and then what do we do to make sure that we're improving or making changes in our programs to address the needs of our students. So what's next for us? So since our programs in Colorado, we have updated our materials. We have included information on antimicrobial resistant diseases, and we are fortunate enough to have a partnership with UMass And I see some of you from UMass are on the conference today. So we certainly acknowledge that the work with you is helping us increase the information as well. We need to focus more on livestock handling, add information on safe sharps and pharmaceutical handling, a respirator, and the importance of fit testing. We also are working with CS Cash from Nebraska on increasing the ability to provide respirator fit testing in local communities. And here is an example of some of the slides that we've added in our prezzies for our students in all of our different presentations. And we want to make sure that we're not only providing them with reusable gloves, but also providing them with good information about how do you dispose of those gloves, what particular activities are you involved in where you need to wear this type of personal protective equipment that we're showing right now. And then also, once again, more safety in handling livestock pharmaceuticals. So this is one of the things that was an outcome of our presentations in Colorado is, yes, we need to increase this type of information, and we've done research on what would be the best information to provide. So I want to just let you know this is how you get to us with our website here, and of course all of our social media things. And then once again, acknowledge and thank the High Plains Center for your funding. And then also to acknowledge that when we have projects such as the one that we did with you, that allows us to move forward with follow-up project partners as well and develop more resources, develop and think about ways that we can reach the next generation of agriculture, but also other generations of agriculture with the important topics of agricultural health and safety. I did recently talk to Whitney a couple days ago, and we also are working on trying to find ways to work with extension agents within Colorado and other states in which you serve, because we know they also have a really great ability to reach farmers and their families. So thank you once again for the opportunity and to be able to present today.
Thank you, Carolyn. It was nice to see you again. And Carolyn and her crew did this work, I think it was back in late October or November. Carolyn, had I known what was ahead, I would have asked you for many more N95 masks.
Yes.
Okay. We'll have time for questions after the